Hello and welcome to TV International, the program with news and analysis from a left and progressive point of view, and news and analysis from the Middle East. I'm Debonitas
and Fariborz Pooya. In today's program, we'll be speaking to Kazem Nikkhah, editor of the International weekly paper of the Worker Communist Party of Iran, an expert on the labor movement in Iran. Later on, we'll be speaking to Issam Shokri, leader of the Left Worker Communist Party of Iraq, on the election in that country and development and the significance of people's participation in the election. And finally,
we're talking about the news and the Global Day of Action about Jamal Sabari, the Iranian activist who is in detention in Japan at the moment.
Some of our viewers may know that in Iran the economic situation is worsening by day, and one of the annual discussion and debates in Iran has been the meager minimum wage established by the Iranian government. This year, Iranian government has announced an increase of 15% in minimum wages from $260 US dollars to equivalent of $303 US dollars. That's 11, and that's bearing in mind that the inflation rate for only for the first 3 months or the last 3 months has been 11%. That's over 40%, I assume. We have online, luckily, Kazem Nikkhah, leading member of the Worker Communist Party of Iran, who's also editor of the weekly International paper and one of the experts of the labor movement in Iran. Kazem Nikkhah, welcome to International TV.
Thank you, and hello to you and Patty and all the audience.
Okay. What's your sort of assessment of current workers' situation in Iran generally in relation to the economic condition?
It's a very difficult situation. That is very difficult to describe the workers' situation and all people's situation because of the poverty that is very deep, and it has been for long years and years, and every year it is worsening. And the workers' unemployment is very high. More than 10 million people are unemployed, and no unemployment benefit, no social services, nothing that the government pays for people, and the prices are going up and up all the time. The inflation rate is about it's not precise figure, but they say 25, 40, 30% every year, and so workers have to work generally 2 shifts to be able to have minimum needs of life for themselves. So it is very difficult, and we should talk about that actually.
Yes.
Very exactly about that.
So really, on the life on the Islamic regime of Iran for the working class is, for majority of people, seems to be abject poverty. I mean, one of the features of the at least last 10 to 15 years is the unpaid wages, and that's one of the things we've had. It seems to be a culture of not paying workers' wages. How do you describe that?
In Iran, you see a contrast. There's very clear contrast. When you talk about standard of living, you should imagine that, for example, 19th century workers in Europe or in the world generally, so when government always talks about poverty line, and last year I heard from them that they talk about they said that poverty line doesn't explain the situation. We should talk about subsistence point or survival point. I mean, this is so clear that they can't hide it, they can't deny it. That's side, but the other side is people are not silent, workers are not silent. They have been struggled, they have been fought, and they are doing whatever. And it is a war actually between government and people, especially with the workers. In Iran, there is no right to strike. There is no right to organize. There is no freedom of speech, But still, there is every day. Sometimes we had last year we had 20 strikes in different places, and there is or independent free workers organizations that it is not allowed, but they are working, they are organizing themselves, workers. So that's the contrast that it is. I mean, if you talk about the standard of life of workers, maybe somebody may think that people are being suppressed, workers can't do anything, but it is not like that. It is a fight, it is a struggle, it is an ongoing struggle every day in Iran.
Yeah, and I think there is a good history of and tradition of workers' movement in Iran in relation to organization, despite the fact that the government doesn't recognize the right of the workers to an independent organization or the right to a strike. But that's been one of the features of the Iranian society. There's been many strikes, as you mentioned. There have been 20 major strikes in Iran in the last year. Can I just bring you the discussion to the 1st of May? But before we do that, government is also announcing, parallel to announcing 15% increase of minimum wage compared to over 30% of inflation, which is effectively a cut in the living standard of the workers. They also have the audacity to announce removal of subsidy from many of the stable foods of people. How do you score that, Kazem?
Yes, but that's the economic situation. I mean, Iranian economy generally is very in crisis. You can see inflation and depression at the same time. And it is a corrupting economy. We have the factories working under 30% of their capacity, as they say, and there is no productivity, you can say. And we have in capitalist strata that they just thinking to gather money by bribery, by speculation, by taking or stealing money from the government, and they have. If you compare Iranian or, for example, Iranian capitalists' money or interest to other parts of the world, they have much more percent of benefit from
and profitability,
from the industry and from their business than everywhere in the world, I can say. But without any manufacturing, without any production, or without any production that can be
benefit people.
Yeah.
Kazem Nikkhah, thank you very much. I mean, I wanted to talk about the 1st of May. Would you can we invite you back for next week so we could discuss 1st of May and the current struggle of the workers' movement in Iran? Because as time is up for this section.
Okay, thank you very much.
You promise you come back next week to talk about the workers' struggle and 1st of May. Thank you very much, Kazem Nikkhah. This is International TV. I'm Fariborz Pooya, and
I'm Debonitas.
We'll be back to speak to Isam Shokri on the situation in Iraq and the elections. Thank you very much. Stay with us.